In this video, we're going to talk about something called diatonic chords. So the word diatonic just means pertaining to a scale. So diatonic chords are just a bunch of chords that have been derived from a common scale. So essentially, all the notes that make up each diatonic chord are coming from the same scale. Yes. I feel like that was a little bit unnecessarily complicated, but yes. So there are a few reasons as to why we really need to work on this notion of diatonic chords. The first reason, which I think is a very easy one, is that it really helps us in understanding why a certain combination of chords sound good together. So, for example, like if you have maybe like D minor 7 and then F, or maybe F major 7, then maybe like G7, and then A minor 7, and then C or something. We know that these chords sound good together, and this is precisely because of a notion called the diatonic chords, because they have all the notes that make up these chords are taken from the same scale, which is a C scale. So it helps us why certain chords fit well together. So this is the first reason. Another reason is that when we study diatonic chords, we start to assign each chord that appears in a song Roman numerals to represent them. So for major chords, we will just use a capital Roman numerals. Not like it is precisely a capital Roman numeral. So for example, if it's a 5 chord, we would just put like a big V. If it's a major chord, we use a capital Roman numeral. If it's a minor, we use a small Roman numeral. And then if it's a diminished, you put this like a circle thing at the top right corner to represent that it is a diminished. It is a diminished chord. So and when we do this, this is called harmonic analysis, which is a very fancy way of just assigning Roman numerals to chords. When we do this, it will help us in understanding the chord progressions, and also there's a way to categorize the diatonic chords into 3 categories. One is called the tonic, which is like home, like back home. It's like a resolution. And then the subdominant, which is like moving away or traveling, and then dominant, which is like tension. It's so you can categorize the diatonic chords in these 3 categorizing categories. So to better understand the role that each chord is playing in a specific song. So it also helps us in understanding the role that each chord is playing is having. Yes. So and also when we represent each chord using the Roman numerals, it makes it much easier for us to process that in our mind when we want to transpose it. That is, we want to play it in a different key. So like if you want to play the same song, the very same song in a different key, you would just refer to the Roman numerals that you came up with, and then you would just play the diatonic chords. You would just like match it to the diatonic chords of that whichever key that you're playing in, that you want to transpose to. So it really helps us in transposing as well. Okay, so this is pretty much like, I think, the reasons, at least the reasons that I know as to why we should really do this thing. And before we get started, actually we need to talk about something called a scale degree. So scale degree, it just means it's just something that we assign. It's just a name that we assign to every note in a scale. So like the first note of a scale, you could say it's actually the root, right? You can say the first scale degree, the second one you can say second scale degree, third one third scale degree, fourth scale degree, fifth scale degree, and so on. So you can just you can just like say first scale degree. So actually it doesn't really matter. But actually each of these notes are given some special names, and some of them really sound fancy, like some median, the median supertonic, which sounds like supersonic. But the most important ones, are the tonic, which is the root, which in the key in the case of C, it's just a C note, and then the fourth scale degree is called the subdominant. Yeah, and then the fifth one is called the dominant. So actually all diatonic chords can be categorized into having the role of a tonic or a subdominant or a dominant. So actually these three I guess scale degree is the most I think the most crucial. But actually other scale degree also has some really fancy name. Like for example, the second scale degree is called the supertonic because it is above the tonic, so that's why it's called supertonic. But I think we don't really need to learn the other scale degree names. We can just say like second scale degree if we need to. So with that said, we can actually go into determining what are the diatonic chords, all the diatonic chords that one can come up with, or I guess one can form in the scale of C. And the same principle holds for other keys. Alright, so I think we can get started with forming the diatonic chords. So we take a look at the scale of C because the reason why I like to use the scale of C is because all the open strings in the ukulele, which are these notes, are contained in the key of C, or the scale of C. And actually the same thing could be said for F, the key of F, and the key of G. So I would prefer one of these three scales just to work with. But yeah, so actually the same principle holds for other keys as well. So if we master how the diatonic chords are working in one scale, then you can essentially apply it to other keys as well. So the first scale degree, which is called the tonic, essentially we can skip one note and then form the diatonic chords. So it would be like we skip this one, we get to this, and we skip this one, so we get to this. So it would be just a C major chord. And actually, well, if it has only three notes, it would be called a triad. But actually, you could extend it by one note, or actually, you can theoretically have more, like 5 notes in the diatonic chord. But I guess we will only work with 3 and 4 for ukulele. So if you actually extend it, you would get to C major 7. This is the first diatonic chord in the key of scale. That doesn't make much sense. In the key of C. Yeah. So okay. So if it's just a 3-note chord, which is a triad, then it's just a C major chord. If you want to have 4 notes, this would be C major 7 chord. And then as for the second one, which is this one, skip E, get to F, skip F, get to A, it would be a D minor chord. And then if we want to add another note, it would be D minor 7th chord. Moving on, actually this thing would be much more easier to visualize if we have a keyboard, but essentially you get the idea. We're just skipping one note in the scale and then we're just forming the chord. So for this one, the third scale degree, it would be an E minor chord. If we want to extend it by one note, we would get E minor 7. The fourth scale degree, subdominant, would be F chord. and then if you want to extend it by another note, it would be F major 7. And then the next one is a very important one because it is the tension builder, the dominant guy, always making us want to go back to any chords that have the tonic function, like resolving back, like this one. So this would be the G7 chord, which is the 5th scale degree, which is a diatonic chord built off of the 5th scale degree. So it would be G7, and then as for the 6th scale degree, it would be skipping the B note and the D note, so it would be an A minor chord. So if we want to add another note, it would be an A minor 7, A minor 7 chord, which is this, or if you prefer a different inversion, it would be this, or maybe like this. No, sorry, yeah, this. So this is A minor 7, the 6th scale degree, and then the 7th scale degree is actually a unique one because it is actually the only diminished diatonic chord. Start from this. Actually, so a diminished chord is one way you can think about it is you take the major scale, not the major scale, sorry, the major chord. So like the B major chord, then you're essentially just lowering the 3rd and the 5th by a semitone. So it would be, this would be the diminished chord. So yeah, this is the only diminished chord, and then if we extend it by another one, skip G, we get to A. So it would be actually this would be called a B half diminished chord, but I think I will make a separate video on how diminished chords work because I think it's kind of confusing. If you played in a different inversion, it would be like this. This is the B half diminished chord. If it's just a 3 note, it would be just a B diminished. Sorry. This would be 4 note. This would be 3 note, and then we go back to the tonic. So essentially, this is how you can form the diatonic chords, and then we can see that for the scale of for major scale, scale of major major scale, essentially we can see a pattern for the 1st, the 4th, and the 5th diatonic chords. We get major chords. For the 2nd, 3rd, 6th chords, we get minor chords, and then for the 7th we get a diminished chord, which we can represent by putting a circle on the top right corner of the Roman numeral. So yes, this is essentially the pattern, and then it holds true for other major scales as well. So you can try it in other scales. You can derive the diatonic chords for other scales, and the same principle holds. And we will talk more about the functions that each diatonic chord has in the next video. Thank you for watching.